Hello, I'm your host, Giselle Gamby, and this is the Intuitive Pull podcast. First of all, I want to say thank you to the community of listeners because there have been breathtaking ripples that have occurred from listening to this podcast, and I'm excited to be witness of many, many more. This year, I'm dedicating this podcast to the theme of 2023 being a breakthrough year. No matter how successful, fulfilled, and happy we are, and the truth is that sometimes we're not, we all have thresholds we've placed on ourselves on how loving and powerful we've allowed ourselves to be. Following the intuitive pull does not negate our vulnerabilities and our humanness. Oftentimes, following the intuitive pull asks us to see our blind spots and to bring what has been in the shadow to light. And when we do, we can see that being fully human is in fact the precursor to remembering that we are infinitely greater than this mortal body, that we are infinitely connected beyond this time and space, not in spite of our humanity, but because of the intricate weaving of all aspects of our precious humanity. When we take responsibility and remember that you have the power to decide what you choose, and we fuse that with a letting go of control and surrendering into the plans that you didn't make, there is nothing that you cannot transform. My wish is that you see that the deeper you go, the greater your wealth in all ways, and that authenticity is always profitable. Have fun! Hello, wonderful Intuitive Pull community. I have a really special guest on the podcast today. I've known Jen for quite a long time. I think maybe back until 2020.
20 years.
20 years? That's how long we've known each other? My God, 20 years, far out. And I just want to say that Jennifer Mitchell, from a work perspective, is a consultant and a coach, and we're going to learn more about that soon. But I wanted to say this to the listeners and also to Jen, I call her Jen, that in the 20 years that I've known you, I've never, ever seen or felt the fullness, the wholeness, the self-value, the uncompromising and unapologetic and loving leader, human, and spirit as I see and feel you today. Like, you are just absolutely shining. Even you, I was noticing, we went for a walk yesterday. I was even looking at your eyes. I've never seen them so blue. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, you are radiating.
Maybe it was the blue T-shirt. I normally think I've got green eyes.
They were really blue yesterday. Maybe it was the blue T-shirt. It was beautiful. Yeah, I've always noticed them as, oh, well, I'll edit this out. I have noticed them as green, but yesterday it looks so blue. So Jenny,
the sparkling bit's good though.
Yes, sparkling. You like sparkling.
We do.
So Jen, you are such a beautiful demonstration of someone who has committed to what I'm now calling your own inner PhD. You've really, that inner work is not just a hobby or something that you do and pick up and put down. I mean, you have committed to it from the moment that I've met you. You were such a beautiful demonstration of someone who really owns up, who is impeccable in what you choose for yourself, and with a few universal bills along the way, which we'll talk about as well. So it's been so much fun walking life with you, like literally when we go for our walks, and also metaphorically. And I just know that the listeners are going to really be inspired and going to learn a lot from your life. So welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Thrilled to be here.
Yay. So there's a bit of a timeline that I would like you to speak to today, because the timeline that we reconnected quite joyfully and quite deeply when we went to Kenya again last year in November. And there seems to be it's what I said to you yesterday. I said the shift that is here is just so stellar, actually. Not the word that I used yesterday, but so stellar. The shift that is here is so stellar. It's so breathtaking. And so to speak to the timeline will show how this shift occurred. So what I'd love you to start with is talk to us about 2022. Talk to us about last year. What was last year about for you?
Sure. 2022 was about setting up a new business. I knew I wanted I wanted to see people live their best lives. And I could see that even with the teams that I led from my day job, I did a lot of coaching on their self-awareness, on their resilience and their personal responsibility. And I decided that I really wanted to set up my own business to do that. But I had the structure there and I had, the website and Insta posts and everything going. But for the life of me, I wasn't getting any clients, probably because I wasn't talking to too many people kind of about it. And I didn't feel totally aligned or confident with it or life in general at that stage. Plus, I still really enjoyed my full-time job. I loved the work that I do in cutting-edge technology and financial reporting because it creates such momentum in the business, creates such great results, and it really nurtures people. It makes people feel really good about their jobs because they're getting rid of the horrible data entry pieces and getting to do insights and interesting things, what they're paid to do, basically. So the new business didn't really feel alive. Something was missing apart from the fact I had no clients. And I guess
that's a pretty integral piece that's missing.
It is a bit, yeah, yes. And I kind of found that I hadn't really chosen it. So
do you know what you're choosing instead? Because, so this is a piece just to speak to the listeners. We always talk about we're always choosing something. We just don't often know what we're actually choosing. So do you know what you were actually choosing? You said you weren't choosing clients. Do you know what you're actually choosing?
I was very happy just playing around the edges and I was still choosing the day job because I still loved it. So I wasn't ready to separate from that. Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because the choice to step into your own business wasn't made from a place of I'm disgruntled and I can't stand my job and I don't feel fulfilled. In fact, you loved it.
Yes, I did.
So that's quite an interesting conundrum, isn't it? When you actually love what you do. And I can relate to this because I loved my old HR career as well. I wasn't disgruntled. So what was it that made you? So I guess we're shifting here, we're jumping here because you just said, well, I actually was still choosing my day job and I wasn't choosing the new business. What was it that had you decide the new business?
I knew I wanted something more to do that would lead me into my old age as a business. And I've come from a consulting and contracting background. I knew I probably wanted to work. I still enjoyed the full-time role. There's a lot of politics and stuff and governance and blah, blah that goes on with it. And I just felt I wanted more freedom in my life. Yeah. To be able to take off for 6 months if I wanted to, or go live overseas and do the work from there, whatever I wanted to do. And I didn't feel I had that inherent freedom that I really love and is part of my values in just doing a full-time job.
Yeah, nice one. So just to make the implicit explicit here is that it wasn't values aligned. And so even though you were really happy in the job that you were doing, it was missing some of the value.
Yes.
Yeah, that's really important to you. And that was freedom. So that was the draw card for you. That was the calling card, I should say.
Yes.
Okay. So that's kind of like a snapshot of 2022 last year. And then I remember I put Kenya out there, a retreat in Kenya for November 2022. And that called you. Tell me what happened and tell me what happened on the lead up to Kenya and then what happened in Kenya.
As soon as it came out, I was called to go. I just had to book in. And I'd just come back from this huge holiday in the Northern Territory. So, I just wasn't going on quite the next whole, I can't call it a holiday, actually. It wasn't a holiday. Kenya. But I was just pulled to go, basically. And I've always had Kenya and Africa on my bucket list. I thought I was going to do a big cycling trip in Africa, but that closed down in COVID. So the opportunity was just really there, and I had to go.
I love that. Talk about following the intuitive pull. And I have to say, everybody who does come to Kenya, that's the experience for them. And yeah, sometimes people get scared. Like somebody yesterday was like, oh my God, I've committed and now I'm really scared and I don't know if this is for me, and came up with all the reasons why she shouldn't go. And I just said to her, you know, the ego is just so clever. You know, you make a decision like that, a big one. And for her, it's a big, big one. And I know she's going to be listening to this, and I know she'll know that I'm talking about her. And, you know, that decision to go to Kenya was really significant because it's really walking through the fire for her. And so the ego got scared and was, yeah. But anyway, she has paid. It's non-transferable, I told her. She can't give it away to anybody. And just whilst we're speaking about this, we are about to go to Kenya again in May, the 5th to the 17th of May, 2023. And we're just about to close the doors because we need to be organising accommodation and booking accommodation. So if anybody's called or pulled from this conversation with Jen, please reach out straight away. So thanks. I didn't know I was going to say that, but thanks. That's actually quite perfect. So you didn't have any resistance. You went. And what?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
I guess my credit card had some resistance, but but I didn't have any resistance. No. What happened? We went for a walk, as we do, and you asked me what's my intention for Kenya, and I said, I'm welcoming in my first client. And I took it with a grain of salt, actually, but intentions for me are a little bit special. And a one-on-one client turned up just before we headed off. Perfect client who wanted more self-awareness, and we worked together for 5 months.
Wow.
So that was end of October.
Wow. So you actually got what you asked for before you actually stood on African soil.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Why do you think that was?
Clarity. I was really, really clear.
Yeah. Nice. And then what happened?
And then I guess I lead very big projects, and I'll just talk a little bit about intentions versus goals, because this is really important to what happens next, I think. I've been a goal setter for years. You know, I set my goals and I run agile projects, and always aiming for the results and the outcomes, which works in a business sense to a certain extent. But personally, goals can be really tough because they're external, whereas in setting intentions, they're from the heart, which means you get them because they're heartfelt. You know, they're from you. They're really, you can't not get your intention if they're truly from the heart. Yeah.
And there is no resistance.
Correct. Yes.
Oh, okay. I love that. That is such an amazing distinction, because I too find goal setting limited, because who are we to know really what is possible? We're only deciding that that's possible from the belief systems that we hold within ourselves, but those belief systems are limited. So I too prefer intentions because it leaves space for the magic versus goal being a finite thing.
Mm.
Yeah. So thank you for speaking to that. That's awesome. And then what happened?
And then I discovered through a number of processes that we did that culture and awareness are byproducts of what I like to do, aligning best practice processes with people's purpose. And so I'm creating purpose-driven company now. Like I love cutting edge tech. I found that I was selling my business and my life short by just having a culture and coaching business. So human-centered design, improving processes, all the latest apps and technology for business is the stuff I like and love doing. Plus, it comes easily and intuitively to me as well. So it's kind of a natural. Why the hell wasn't I doing that?
I know.
And that's what I discovered. Yeah.
I remember that conversation because we had Michelle, my co-facilitator, and I said, okay, if anybody wants to have a 2-on-1 with us, we'll be outside, undercover, in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful 5-star home on the lakes of Naivasha. And you said, I'll come and have a conversation. And I remember that conversation very well. And it's like, it's funny, isn't it? Something so obvious as that you love all that cutting edge technology, like your intellect is actually pretty extraordinary. That you forgot that bit. It was right under your nose. You were saying, yes, I want a heart-centered business and, follow the intuitive process and what I would do really. But the intellect is something that's particular to you. And it was so under your nose that you forgot about it. You didn't see it. And then when you did, it was like, oh my God, this is the whole of me. I am both intellect and intuitive.
Yes.
Yes.
And I guess that's where my soul purpose comes in. It's unifying the heart and the intellect or the genius. And that's for everybody, for them to see their purpose from a really holistic, heartfelt point of view and using their smarts, whatever they may be, to live. Yeah.
So I want to say at this point, see what we're talking about here. We even used the words. I remember going around whispering to each person when we were on the grass at that house by the lake at Naivasha. What's your divine assignment? And it's a divine assignment is different to a job. It's different to work. It's different to having a career. Can you talk to that? Because I know that both you and I have had jobs, we've worked and we've had careers. What's the difference between this divine assignment and that kind of leadership?
I guess it comes back to, how people say, oh, you've got to know your purpose in life and understand your purpose so you can move forward and have a fulfilled life. Your divine assignment is way deeper than that. So yes, you can have a purpose in your role and your job and your career and your love life or whatever you want.
Nice one.
But your divine assignment is the act of service and the love that comes with all of that, with your purpose, I think. So it's way deeper. It's it creates so many openings for so much to come in.
Do you feel like you have any choice about this? Or does it feel like a sacred responsibility?
It's a sacred responsibility.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's something I actually have to be quite conscious of as well. It hasn't changed any of my wayward ways or anything like that. But, I still have fun. I still go out and it's not like priestly or anything like that. Oh,
God, no. Please, no.
But it does take effort and it's mindful. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it does. It takes commitment, actually. It absolutely takes commitment. And it takes commitment to the inner work, because without the inner work, there is no sacred responsibility. There is no divine assignment, because we can't hear it. We can't receive it.
Yes.
Yes. And that's why, going away for 12 days to a place like Kenya, you are away from your habitual thinking, right? You're away from, just being on the treadmill, and you are actually rattled. Sounds like as if it's an uncomfortable thing or it's a painful thing. It doesn't necessarily need to be painful or uncomfortable, but you're rattled out of your habitual identity, I guess.
Yes.
Like, who am I really? Do I have the space to hear? Do I have the space to hear? Well, you do in a place like that, also amongst other people who are also listening.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a nice setup in Kenya in that there's a lot of fun, but there's always space to actually contemplate more.
Yeah.
What's really there.
Yeah.
Under your nose or further. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of, I remember standing in a circle again. A lot happened for you at Naivasha by the lake. And I remember you saying, I've just received my theme for this year, for 2023. And what's that word?
Oh, impeccable. It is
Yeah.
impeccable. Yes.
What does that mean?
Impeccable is, doesn't sound like it, but it's actually fun. It's really, really grounded. And I feel very empowered with impeccable.
Yeah.
And it's not like a carrot or stick or anything like that. It's more about if I'm living my divine assignment, what's the next impeccable intention to follow to actually get there?
Oh,
Do
that's
something.
beautiful.
Yeah, have action.
That's beautiful because I love the distinction that you made, because easily we could make impeccable the stick. You're not being impeccable and it comes from judgment.
Yes.
But you're actually saying it's not a stick, it's actually it's almost like a horizon,
Yes.
which is quite beautiful.
It's kind of the next step. So you can use it. It's like a rod to take you to the next step rather than a
Right.
stick on your back. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I think where I went was somewhere different. So you're talking about what's just that next piece. Having that word allows for that next action to come, or that next piece of scene to come. And where I go with it is the impeccability of the vision. Like it's so much greater than what you can even see right now. Like a horizon, it's endless.
Yeah, it does go that far. Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. So yes, that was all a very big experience for you, and we had a lot of fun. And tell us about your time when you came back from Kenya in November.
So yes, we're only up to November.
Mm,
I already had the business name Intuitive Business and had a company as well. So I immediately changed Intuitive Business to be proprietary limited. So that was set up, revamped and redid the website, got clear on my intentions, like super, super clear. What sort of clients did I want? What did I value in a client? What value was I adding? Who was I in that? So really clear on my intentions. And then in late December, I was offered a consulting gig to develop the strategy for a not-for-profit to basically prepare them for the new aged care reforms. So MW Community Care, they're a cute little business. They support the elderly and keep them connected and just supported with services like transport to appointments and building services like building ramps so that a person can get out of their front door and get out onto the street, you know, things like that. During COVID, there were people who were stuck in their house the entire time.
mm,
So if they don't change, they won't be around to do that sort of thing because it's a whole different funding model. So that's exciting to be involved in that. And then at the beginning of January, I resigned from the day job. Right at the beginning of January, that was a thrilling part for my poor boss. He nearly fainted on the spot. And then by the beginning of February, I was consulting for the not-for-profit, and I was back contracting 2 days a week with the day job. So leading my teams and creating some new projects. And then I've also got a really great business client that I'm helping. I'm supporting developing her business. She wants new products and services, and that's heaps of fun. I really enjoy that side of it. And I've got a C-suite coaching client as well who was beginning to make some not so great decisions in his personal life. And yeah, basically, I'm loving working from an intuitive space. It's taken me a while to catch up.
mm,
Not working full time, but in effect, working 5 days with 4 different clients. So it's taken me a little while to catch up with myself, I think.
mm,
But I know I create really good value. It's tangible. I can feel it.
I love that. I mean, talk about an abundance, really, of immaculate clients and businesses that you're working with. You know, we're only March.
Yes.
That's a pretty good track record, I'll say, for having resigned from your day job in early January and having what you have on your plate. I mean, it sounds like you're pretty full.
Yeah, I am pretty full.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being full like that, I still want to be able to talk to prospective clients. I want to be able to have those conversations still. So not treat what I'm doing as the full-time job, still create the space and the freedom and the playfulness around talking to people about tech or improving processes or you name it.
Yeah. So what I want to say here is this is a really good point too, because it's very easy once we've got that thing that we've been going for when it wasn't there at one point, right? So these clients and these consulting clients, these business clients weren't here at one point. Once you get them, it can easily feel like, oh my God, I can breathe out now. And that tension, that creative tension is resolved. And then we take our foot off the accelerator. And then what happens is we then create another reality where we are back in the void again, where it becomes empty at some point because we've resolved that creative tension. It's like in this moment, we're like, oh, thank you. Now I can just relax here and forget about the bigger vision. Whereas what you're doing is you're remembering, you're like, yeah, I'm having so much fun here. I'm, really being impeccable in my service to them. I'm having, I feel a lot of freedom and playing. I'm experiencing more of me than I have before in the fullness of who I am. And you're not saying, oh, just because I've got quite a bit on my books right now. You're not saying, oh, the door's closed. You're saying, keep it coming, keep it rolling, because you're really in service to that vision.
Yes. And it's, intention based. So it's broadening the net and the scope, I guess,
Yeah.
to keep those conversations going. Yeah.
Perfect. And I love, there's another example of, the benefit or the value of intentions versus goals, because if you had a goal, well, you were done.
Yeah. That's it. I have a client or two or three.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the causes as to why people who have their own businesses experience the highs and the lows and the wealth and then the poverty, because they have a goal and then they forget about the longer term vision. Their tension has been relieved and they let go, like literally drop it. That's why. So you're a beautiful example of not dropping the vision just because what wasn't here is now here. I love that. Absolutely love that. Yesterday, oh, and actually, by the way, I also want to say it's such a small world because my mum uses MWP Community Care.
Yes, she does.
She has drivers that take her to her acupuncture appointment in Randwick for her macular degeneration. Yeah. And she tells me stories about the drivers. They're obviously, some of them are, I know they're volunteers and some of them are lonely. So they love talking to mum and, sharing life stories with her and hearing about her. So it's really beautiful. It's a beautiful model.
It is, isn't it? It's also for the volunteers,
Yeah.
because they get to feel
Yeah.
of service and purposeful, and
Yeah.
they get their connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a win for all. Yesterday, you were telling me when we were walking, we had just got to South Coco, and you were saying to me that you had a big consulting opportunity that, ticked all the boxes on the surface, but you said no to it. And it would have been a big, like the big money earner one.
Mm.
Can you talk to us about that and why you said no?
Yes, it was a big strategy gig. It would have been whole new technology, a whole culture reinvention. And yeah, so it was right down my alley, basically. It was all the stuff I loved doing. But I just had this bad feeling about it. I'd had a couple of conversations with teams about it, and it was just not fitting. So I did a bit of super sleuthing, as you do on Google, and sure enough, they were owned by a group that I didn't aspire to working for, basically. Plus, they just didn't have the right value set for me, and so the work wouldn't have been sustainable. It wouldn't have been valued. I probably could have got some good outcomes. It would have been such a struggle to get those outcomes. The timelines probably would have slipped. And yeah, it wasn't aligned with who I am, what I value.
You said to me yesterday, it was all about profit, not purpose and profit.
Yes.
And people.
And they didn't treat their people very well.
Yeah. So that's the second conversation that I've had since yesterday, actually, of hearing a situation where somebody wants to give the consultant money, and it would be this other person, it would have been an easy gig. But he was actually talking about that he was asked to talk about emotional intelligence, to do a keynote around emotional intelligence, and they were going to pay him a nice amount of money for that, compared to the work that he actually does. And he just thought he couldn't do it, because he thought, no, there's not going to be any change just hearing about emotional intelligence versus the actual work that he could actually do with them. And, when COVID was happening, he went through a real dark night of the soul. He thought he was going to lose his business. And I said to him, the guy that was having the dark night of the soul, he would have said yes in a heartbeat to that gig. And he said he wouldn't only have said yes in a heartbeat, he would have over-delivered. And yet yesterday he was like, sorry, no, if you're up for this, I'm here, but I'm not up for that. Talk about integrity, right? Which is what you're displaying by your no.
Yeah, that's right. I would have liked to go back and say what I could have done differently, but it just didn't actually sit with them anyway. So they just wanted one specific thing.
Yeah.
And it's interesting talking to referred people, having a conversation with them who they kind of know who I am and what I do, but they've got a very set way of thinking about how to do projects. And when I tell them what I do, I don't know that we want that. Well, the results I get, that's how I get the results. And then they begin to see it's a different picture. So it's marrying your intention, your values, plus getting results. I mean, we're still in the business world here. We still have to create good projects, but it can be done with intention and values.
I love how you frame that up. We can get really great business results, but it has to be married with intention and values. And if the intentions are skew, or if the values are skew, you're not going to get the results that that you could get. I remember, I would never have used those words for me, but absolutely I could use them now that the way you framed that up. I remember maybe about 6 years ago or so, having this client who I really, really wanted to help. Like this guy, he was not in a good way, to the point that, his wife was telling him that she was going to walk out, and they had a 1-year-old baby. Like it was not good. And I put everything into this client, and I made a mistake. And it was right at the conception of our relationship. And it was because I knew he had no money. I said to him, you remember this story, Jen? I said to him, and I will never do this again. I said to him, because I know that you've got no money, and literally you're giving me the money that you've got from selling the car. And I knew that I can understand his wife would have been absolutely panicking. So I was acknowledging all of that. And I said to him, to calm your wife, to give her some peace, just let her know that if this doesn't work in 3 months, that I'll give your money back. And I have every intention that this is going to work. But I set it up to fail. I totally set it up to fail from that moment, because I was the one that was taking responsibility and not him for the results. And it was such a big lesson. And he did get results, really valuable results, but not the ones, let me say it differently, but he couldn't actually value them. Yeah, only I could, because I was the one that was committed. I was the one.
You were delivering them. Yeah.
I was. And that's a long story to say, this learning that I had around that. It was, if the potential client is not 100% immaculate, it's a bit like your impeccable word. Like if it's 99%, they're not for me. Yeah, from that moment onwards, it's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it is. I haven't thought about it as 100%. I'd probably go for 99% still.
Yeah, right.
I'll try that out.
But impeccable isn't 99%.
No, impeccable isn't. It is 100%. Yeah.
I have another story. So I was referred this client, and like you said, referrals, right? I was referred this client, who are, again, quite a dire situation with cancer. And I kept trying and trying and trying. Like, I really wanted to work with her. I really wanted to work with her, and I couldn't feel it. So I set up a second conversation. So I thought maybe I'll feel it there. And I'm there and I just can't feel it. And I had to tell her at the end, I said, I just need to let you know that I'm not feeling it. I can't feel it for me, but I think I know who is your person. I said, do you know Shariel? She goes, oh my God, I used to work with Shariel. I've done her program and she even came into my business. So, well, she's your person. Can I tell her about you? Yep. Called Shari, said Shari, blah, 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 blah. Shari called me like 2 hours later, said, yep, we're working together for the next 3 months. It was so cool. It was so cool. Yeah. Yeah.
And one door shuts, the other one opens.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So, is there anything else that you'd like to say today? Maybe even no, actually, I won't. I won't lead you. I'll let you go where you want to go.
I was going to mention one really fun thing from Kenya.
Excellent. That's the place where I was going to go.
You'd come to breakfast every morning and say, oh, I had this amazing dream last night. And for this one, you could see pigs flying. And the phrase was that pigs can fly, as I think it's pretty, well, pigs can't fly either way. And I actually saw for myself, I turned it around, in fact, that pigs do fly. Like, there's no doubt about it. They
pigs
just
fly.
do fly.
You said pigs fly, not pigs can fly. Pigs fly.
Yes. And I think I've kind of been experiencing that. Like, everything I do has been intention with action.
Yeah.
And yeah, the pigs are flying. They certainly are. And with pigs flying, I just have pigs fly on my screen. And it's big and it's really playful and intentional. And it keeps me curious. Like, it's hilarious. But it's very intentional for me.
That became, who would have ever thought that became the premise for Kenya. Pigs fly. How professional, how serious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I learnt that one at university.
Yeah. Another one at uni.
Oh, gosh, yes, I do love my dreams when I can interpret what they mean. Talk to us about, as we're closing this interview, I'd really love for the listeners to feel and experience the shift within you over the last few years around who you saw yourself as and who you know yourself to be today.
I didn't realize this at the time, but I actually lacked confidence, my own confidence, and felt a bit invisible. Like going walking, for instance. I can't tell you the amount of times that somebody coming the other way didn't get out of my way or bumped me on the shoulder or something. Like, invisible, seriously invisible. And then to get things done or to look good, not look bad or whatever, I'd often compromise. Or acquiesce. So then I wasn't living a full life. And I also, from a very young age, I've always had quite a woo-woo thing going on. Like, I see stuff. I used to see dead people from war crimes. And having that experience is quite traumatic as a young child growing up. I mean, I didn't think people were very nice, really. Sometimes I still don't, but I've handed that over. I don't have to do that anymore. So I had this really mixed bag of not really feeling part of this weird world of people, but then knowing that I wanted to help. I wanted to support people to live their purpose. So it was a bit of a dichotomy that didn't sit too well. And then I guess to where I'm at now, and I think the Kenya experience really reinforced this. Like, I have unconditional love for myself. Like, that's just it. It's for me, for everything around me. It warms my heart when I say that, actually.
I'm feeling it too.
Yeah. And I'm unapologetic. Like, I'm really clear about purpose, taking intuitive steps by intuitive steps. And I'm visible and, memorable. Yeah.
Yeah. Seriously invisible to impeccably memorable.
Oh, cool. Hmm.
I like that.
And you've been talking about congruence a lot lately.
Mm.
I think that's your word.
Yep.
Um, yes, and I'm woo-woo. I see stuff, and I love cutting edge technology, and I can solve business problems, and I'm a lover. That's my game.
I love that. Yes, congruence. I do actually. Thanks for speaking to that, because congruence is so in the air at the moment. Oh my gosh, it's happening in my life. It's happened in your life. I was just on a group call with my coach and Michelle Richmond, who is my co-facilitator in Kenya, and Arthur Sarkissian. And I saw a piece for Michelle, which I'll talk to you about after this interview. That is, I've been feeling it. I've been saying to Michelle I said this to you yesterday. I've been saying to Michelle for the past few weeks, there's a coming together of all of your parts. I can feel it. I can feel it. And then today I saw it and I spoke out these two words and it was like bang on, absolutely bang on. So I know that this, often we don't know what's going to happen. Well, not often. Every time I don't know what's going to happen on these interviews. That's the truth. And what has emerged, I feel, I mean, there's several themes on this interview, but one of the themes is definitely congruence, allowing all of those separate parts of, Michelle was even talking about, she used to run nightclubs years ago. And she was talking about how when the DJ would play a song that just wasn't right, she knew. And what happens when somebody plays a song that doesn't go right, it's dead, people leave. And she's been making these beautiful, beautiful breath work meditations, and she's been writing songs. And she was saying on the call today that there was a song that Ricky, who you met,
Yes.
who played for us, for I think, how many were we? 9 of us or 11 of us, who normally plays for 2,000 people. He wrote a song and she just said she couldn't feel it. It was one of those, the dance floor is going to go empty. So she's even bringing her nightclub days back to today, as she creates breathwork meditations and writes songs to meditate with. Like, it's just so funny. So yes,
it's all part of the journey though, isn't it? I've been a musician and a ski instructor, but I still do cutting edge technology. But it all counts because it's all part of the big picture.
Yeah. And actually, I got the wrong word. It's not congruence. It's convergence is the word that I'm speaking to.
Yes.
It's convergence, which of course has congruence within it, but it's convergence. That's what's happening. So I just wanted to say that out loud, quite explicitly on this episode. So let's close the interview and talk to us about March and going forward.
So on the business side, March and April, I'm wanting to set up more business meetings. So talking to friends, colleagues to refer me to their friends, colleagues who they think might be a fit. I think I'll welcome in the love of my life. That would be lovely.
Yes.
I'd love there's a fantastic dinner next week with matching wines, and it'd be nice to do that sort of thing with fabulous person. Still want to have fun and be curious, which is just a given for me in my life. I've really enjoyed my new friends from Kenya. Like, I didn't know, I knew of one person basically, and so just having that new set of friends has been just great.
Oh, that's really nice to hear.
Yeah. I've got a good trip planned at the end of the year, going to Egypt and Jordan, which will be exciting. And I guess I'm still calibrating a little bit what it is to be free in my business, keep the business going, still kind of working full time to do all of that, plus, work on the business and still have time, and being uncompromising, unapologetic it's a loving force that just flows through, that has to happen. Like, even I can't get out of it, and I'm I was a pretty good procrastinator. So it just has to happen. Yeah,
I love it. What a great way to end this conversation. Thank you so much for your generosity. I actually didn't realize until we spoke yesterday that you were so appreciative of Kenya and how much you wanted to actually bring that experience to this conversation. So thank you for your generosity there. And as I said, you're just this incredible demonstration of someone who's so embodied. Actually, that's the word that I didn't know I was going to say. Embodied. You're embodied. It's like it's not sitting outside of you anymore. Like the fullness of you is not sitting outside of you. It's embodied and being embodied. As you said, you're not fully integrated, but being embodied. Yeah. So
I agree with that. Yes.
Yeah. So listeners, take heed of Jennifer Mitchell, my friend Jen, and let her inspire you because, what did you say? Intention, values, and results.
Yes.
That marriage is a really, really good recipe.
It is. And it's easy. I mean, there's work in and around it, but it's an easy mix.
Yeah. Yeah. And the truth is, if it doesn't feel easy, if it feels like hard work, you're not in congruence.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. That was really
thank you, Giselle. That was lovely.
Beautiful. And in terms of your website, I'm going to put the details in the show notes and ways to contact Jen. So if you feel pulled to contact Jen, either as Jen being a coach or as a consultant, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, if you love this podcast, I have 2 requests. Number 1, sign up to the newsletter, which you can find in the show notes. Sharing is one of my superpowers, and there is only so much that I can share through the medium of podcasting. And I have very big plans this year to be radically generous to you. So sign up to that newsletter where you will be able to receive a whole lot more that I trust will be super valuable to you. And number 2, I'm a massive referrer of the people I love to the people I love. Please share this episode or podcast with the people you love, and let's create some more breathtaking ripples of impact.